kind of take a little break. We're going to do just a mini transition into our next piece of our orientation and kind of prepping us for next week, which is why I asked Mr. James Gensaw to join us here today. So you heard that this will be like the fourth kind of trip out to APA for our programs here at Humboldt. And one new addition that I'm very excited to be able to integrate into our trip this year that's never been done before because it didn't exist is we're going to venture all the way to Klamath and make a pit stop at the brand new Yurok Tribe Visitor Center and Interpretive Village. We're going to start our time there, be hosted by Mr. Gensaw, and then we're going to head back to APA and spend the rest of our time there. So I'd like to introduce James, and he can tell you a little bit about, the visitor center, and ultimately just, because it's going to be, we're going to get there and we're going to kind of jump right into it. I thought maybe he would kind of give us a bit of an overview of what that'll look and feel like today, so that when we do get there, we're ready just to kind of be a part of that experience and kind of get down with it. So thank you, James, for being with us here today.
Are you queen? Neck now, James Gensaw. Rekway as he sat as he started when the mount neck came to tall of yon talk in the mount. So my name is James Gensaw. I come from the village of the Rekway Sa'a Star, and I'm also part Tala and come from the village of Yon Talkit. So I'm the Yurok Country Visitor Center. I'm the cultural coordinator at the new visitor center. So I do many things there, So before I kind of get into kind of what the visitor center, what are some of our goals and our objectives and our vision for that place is, I'm gonna start off with a story, and that'll kind of lead into it a little bit more. So I don't know if I'm a good storyteller, but I'll go ahead and try here. So na shi khan could shake any chuchish kitch tomorrow Kelly one na. So a long time ago, there was this little bird, and he broke his wing, and muskie quake out in a tom or newly per word, and he couldn't go visit his family. His family always left for the wintertime and went down south. So he was really sad. Numi kim son named net kuawaku chuchish esio taping off a hego. So he was really sad, and he started walking through the woods. And as he started going into the woods, he came across this beautiful dogwood tree, and it was his first time ever producing these beautiful white flowers. So all these beautiful white flowers everywhere. And so the little bird goes up to him and says, "Are you queen, man? Keeps tomorrow Kelly and whatnot." He said, "Hello, I broke my wing. How are you doing, dogwood?" He said, "Kosela sanki all in it away spring." So hopefully I can stay in your branches for the winter time. And then the dogwood tree looked at him, looked at him, he said, "New sawdust, china, kimberlu wayam." He said, "Chanina wapan man, nekaku, no me no raku." He says, "Go on, get out of here. You're bothering me." He says, "Look at you. You're so ugly." He said, "Look at me." He said, "I have all these beautiful white flowers everywhere." And so I don't want you staying in my branches. You'll make me look ugly. And so the bird, he was really sad, and he started walking in the forest. As he started walking deeper into the woods, he came across the giant tan oak tree. And it was their first time ever producing acorns, because this is before humans were even made yet. And so she was the first time producing acorns, so she's producing all of these acorns, and they're falling down, and she's gathering them up into piles. And she was really busy, and here comes that little bird. He says, "Are you queen, my keeps tomorrow Kelly?" And she said, "New sawdust, chikona surf perfect white car, musky nurguri kercheck." And he said, "I broke my wing." And she said, "Wait, go on, get out of here. I'm so busy. Can't you see I'm so busy? I have no time to help you." So by this time, that bird was really sad, and he started crying, and tears started rolling down his face. He started walking with his head down. He started walking deeper into the woods. And the deeper he walked into the woods, the darker it became. The deeper he walked into the woods, the darker it became. And pretty soon he went, bam! And he ran into what he thought was a giant wall. And by the time his eyes started focusing from all the tears, blurring his eyes and getting used to the darkness, he realized he didn't run into a giant wall. He actually ran into the giant redwood tree. And this bird, he's real little, about this big. And he starts looking at this giant redwood tree, and he starts shaking. And he's like, "I am Queeky, teach them all, Kelly, when I broke my wing. Chawak, Soxy, Pop, please have pity on me. Cosella Sanki, all in it, Kaway Squint, Oshkumi Musky, Numi per work, Solid, Ki, Quaga, Natom, Numi per work. He said, because I can't go see my family. I'm so sad, I can't fly. He said, can I stay in your branches? Cosella Sanki, all in it, Kaway Squint. And the redwood tree says, he's a Pete Wilton rat. And he said, of course, my little friend. He picks him up, he throws him into his branches. And that little bird was the marble murrelet. And that's the only seabird that nests in redwood trees. And that's the way we believe that's the reason why, because of the story. So meanwhile, all this was going on, the creator was watching us. So he comes down, he goes over to where the dogwood tree was sitting there with all these beautiful white flowers. He came down and he says, I need no watch. He said, I was watching you. Got my spaghetti off. And he says, you weren't being a very good person. And, I was watching the way you treated your fellow neighbor. And he says, for that, he said, I'm going to punish you. And I'm going to punish you by not taking away your beautiful white flowers. You can have your beautiful white flowers, but you're only going to have them for a short period of the year. And so that's why people believe that the dogwood tree only has this beautiful white flowers for about 2 months out of the year. In the late spring, and then they lose them. And so then he came over to Hotmanot where she was standing down oak tree. And he says, I was watching you, honey, no watching. And I was watching you, were so busy you couldn't help out your fellow neighbor that really needed your help. And he says, for that, he says, I want to make you busy for the rest of your life. When I create the Yurok people, the local Indian people, they're only going to eat your acorns. And so that's why it's Yurok people eat acorns, because that's part of her responsibility. We have other acorns that we can eat, the white oak, black oak. We eat town oak acorns because that's part of her responsibility, being busy for the rest of her life. And so then he came over to the redwood tree, and he says, Key, he said, watch it. He said, I was watching him. Numi pay lean with checks. Numi school with checks. He said, I was watching. You were such a good person. You had such a big heart. He says, when I create the local Yurok people, he says, they're going to treat you just like a human being. And when they make their houses, they're going to say, oh, less, that human house. Or, oh, yachts, that human boat. They're going to treat you just like a human being. And all these things are going to put that heart in you because you had a big heart and you were so kind to other people. And, that's why redwoods are important to us Yurok people. And the reason I wanted to start off with this story is because that's kind of what we do at the visitor center. We get to tell our story. And that's the main point. We get to tell our story. All these other visitor centers around here, they always talk about Native people. They always talk about us in third person. And they also talk about us in past tense all the time. We're still here. We still have a story. So that's one of the things that the cultural center or the visitor center down there, the main thing is to tell our story, and actually it's more of an educational center, and we have a long story. We have so many stories of how things were and how the right way to live is, and that's part of it. Another part of it is also telling the other story. So what happened in the last 150 years, 160 years, with all this historical trauma, with all this invasion and all the Indian Holocaust that happened in this area, to tell that story, because that actually helps promote healing and to get that out there and to bring up those issues and to educate people, because there's so many people don't know some of these things that happen, and the part of education, that's how you get that healing. I always tell people, it's like, this whole system, this whole Western society system that we have going on there, it's like, let's treat everyone fair. Let's treat everyone exactly the same. But that's not what we need. See, if you have people that are going up on this steep mountain and way up in a desert, and they're going up there and they have, it's really hot and it's strenuous mountain, then you have these people down here that already crossed that mountain, and they're all on the lush rainforest and tons of water everywhere. you don't give those people the same amount of water. You have to give these people a little bit more. And that's what you need to do. You need to give people what they need to heal. And, you know, that's what you guys are doing, and that's just awesome. And so kind of what we're doing down there is, you know, at the visitor center, where we have storytelling, we do cultural demonstrations. You know, it's brand new. We've only been open for 3 months, but, you know, next year we want to have big groups coming in where we teach the youth how to do dances, brush dances, canoe making, you know, and all that. We're not going to charge them. We just want people to come in and find out about us, learn about our history. And so that's the main thing that we're doing down there is educating people and telling our story. And so that's all I have to say, unless you guys have any questions for me. When you guys come down there, we're going to actually have 2 groups, 2 sessions. I'm going to welcome everyone, and then we're going to have a group that's going to go with me. You guys are going to split into 2 groups. One group's going to come with me. We're going to go to the demonstration village. I'm going to tell you a few stories and do that point. And then we're actually going to have 2 other people. We're going to have Dale Webster. He's going to be there. He's going to bring a lot of his family baskets and a lot of his bows and arrows and different cultural items that he actually made himself. And then we're also going to have Sandra Lowry. She's going to bring a few women's dresses in and some baskets. And so we're going to have 2 sessions. And so one group will stay with them, one group will come with me, then we'll switch halfway. That's going to be probably about an hour and 15 minutes, somewhere around that time. So,
yeah, no, thank you, James. I'm really looking forward to that, and I think it'll really like help even contextualize some of, you know, what we're seeking to accomplish even more. And I just am very grateful for you to carve out the time to host us, to have us, and then maybe even joining us for the latter part of the day.
Yeah, hopefully I can.
Maybe. He's also a Yurok language teacher. He teaches at Eureka High and other places within the community. So James, like many of us, has multiple hats, and he's very much, you know, one of, you know, the kind of leaders and just, you know, part of our younger generation who, you know, are we rocking it, or are we rocking it? I don't know, I hope so. Yeah. So just 2 cents on that. This is fun for me in that, like, James and then Frankie and I and Molly and I, our next 2 speakers, we all kind of like grew up together. We're all of the same age. And at some point along the way, we became grown-ups. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick kind of stretch break and transition break, maybe about 10-ish minutes, and then we're going to move into our next